Hey, this is Neil Mason from American Bang, and you're at Popularity.
What were your expectations going in to record the album?
My expectations were that we were going to make a great album. My expectations were really high. We had been writing songs for a couple of years for this record, and we felt like we had a really good group of songs. And when we got Bob Rock on board, we were really excited because we felt like he really got the kind of record that we wanted to make. And so, we spent a lot of time just kind of making sure all the songs and arrangements were all right. But once we got in the studio, I think everything felt really great.
What was it like working with Bob Rock? What would you say is the most important thing you learned from him?
I think Bob's focus is completely on the song, he was really good at taking, our basic outline and arrangement and kind of just, helping tweak the dynamics of the song and make sure that, the moments that really needed to explode really did. And then, when we needed to rein it back a little bit to make room for those big moments, he was able to help us with that. And then really beyond that, he's just really great with sounds, like being able to take a whole bunch of demos that we had from a couple of years that all kind of, they had a similarity just in the sense that it was always us playing, but all the being able to make sonically bring everything together and make it feel like one cohesive record, I think was probably one of the bigger challenges, and it was something that was probably one of the biggest assets to having him in the room.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel that you've changed musically and personally throughout this album's creation process?
I think we learned a lot about writing more than anything. I think that when we first started, we knew what kinds of songs we wanted to be writing, but I'm not sure that we could actually write them yet. And so I think it was important for us to have a couple of years of really just focusing really hard on writing and kind of honing what does and doesn't work for the band. We literally would write every day, and then we would have band practice, and we would learn new songs that we were writing that week, and we would try them out at shows and go in and record them in a little studio that we had near our house and just kind of, flush them out and whatnot. And so, I really think it was just a growing process. I don't know that there's really much more to it than that.
Did any of the songs take a different direction than you initially thought that they would?
Yeah, they definitely did. I think that there's a song on the record called Angels that's kind of one of the more ballad type songs. And when we had originally done it, it came across a little more like kind of like a Rolling Stones, kind of Black Crowes, kind of old 70s vibe. And I felt like once we got in the studio with Bob, we added a lot more texture to it, and it kind of had, like, the drum beat changed and the guitar tones changed, and it ended up having almost more of like a little trippier kind of symphony feel to it or something like that. And so that was really neat. And that happened with a few different songs, where we would just kind of add an extra layer that we hadn't experimented with prior to being in the studio that, really helped the song stand out to us.
Can you describe your attraction to music?
Let's see. Well, I think when it comes down to it, whether you're happy or you're sad or, you're kind of just having a whatever day, if you find a good song, it'll always kind of change your mood. And I think that my attraction to music comes from experiencing that at an early age and just really being drawn to, certain songwriters and certain songs and whatnot, and finding myself wanting to hear them over and over again. And now, still to this day, there's certain songs that when they come on, they make me happy like they did when I was, 6 or 7 years old or something like that, And so I think that the reason all of us want to be musicians is probably has something to do with that. You know, I mean, it's a little moment in a day, you know, like tonight when we'll get to play a show where everybody at the same time will just be having a good time and enjoying themselves. And I think that there's something to be said for that, that there's enough of that in the world in general. So I think that's probably my main attraction to music.
What exactly is the band trying to open people's minds up to with the music?
You know, I mean, really for us, I think it's a pretty simple message. You know, we really, you know, I don't think we're trying to have any big, grand ideas that are, you know, we're trying to like force down anybody's throats or anything. I really think it's more about, you know, I think that you're supposed to enjoy life, you know, and you're supposed to be free with it, and you're not supposed to get too wrapped up in all the things that it's easy to be weighed down by, you know. And I just think that whether you're 5 years old, 15 years old, 30 years old, or, you know, 60 years old, that should be the case, you know. And I think that the goal with our music is to try and write something that if somebody at any age were to hear it, they would get that feeling.
It was mentioned that in Nashville you can't really get away with having a bad song because people around will notice and they'll call you out in a heartbeat. Being from Nashville, do you think that makes the band push even harder?
You know, it definitely is difficult. You know, I think I noticed like it shows in Nashville is like if you're playing a song that's kind of just okay, people go to the bar, you know, and they don't necessarily pay attention. It's kind of like everybody kind of can tell the difference pretty quickly, like if you're BSing or not, you know. And so I think that really helps push us when it comes to writing, and just kind of, you know, try and be honest with what it is that we were trying to do, and also just it pushed us to try and figure out, you know, how to write not just a good song, but a great song, you know. And I think that we've still got a ways to go, I'm sure, but, you know, we've definitely come a long way as well from where we started.
What would you say is the biggest challenge facing the band right now?
I mean, the biggest challenge, I think, for any band is really kind of getting over that hump where people actually know who your band is. You know, I mean, like we've had our single Wild and Young out for most of this year, and there's a decent amount of people that are aware of that song. You know, but I think that just because somebody's aware of a song doesn't necessarily mean that they know the band, you know. And so part of the reason that we're out every night playing shows is to try and introduce people to who the band is. You know, people might show up to see that song, or they might show up and not realize that they're going to see the band that sings that song or any other song, but then when it comes on, they go, oh, wait, I know that, and, you know, they'll come up afterwards. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing for us is we need to be out and introducing ourselves to everybody that we can, and anybody that we can get in front of. I mean, we'll play in a parking lot or in a bar or in a coffee shop or in a radio station or in a hotel or wherever anybody will let us, honestly, to try and get people to be aware that we're American Bang and this is what we're doing.
Do you find that when you perform songs, they're evolving or changing with each time you play them? Like, do the songs ever grow?
Yeah, I feel like they definitely do. I mean, we've been out since April, and it was interesting kind of coming out of making the record, and we were off for a couple months, and so we spent some time rehearsing and kind of learning the record. And at first you kind of just learn the record as it is on the record because there's so many new parts and whatnot. And then you get out on the road and you kind of see what works and what doesn't. And so, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, there's stuff that we'll just tack on, like, whether it's on the end or the beginning or the middle of the song, just to give it a little bit of extra energy in some cases, you know, or you know, we've done that with Hurts Like Hell, one of the songs on the record. We've been closing with that song, and at the end we kind of have this whole outro piece that isn't actually on the record, that is something that we've written while we've been out on the road, that kind of just is a nice way to end the show. And, that's happened with a few of the different songs.